Hello, and thank you for watching this ag forecast for the southern U.S. I'm Andrew Pritchard, Senior Meteorologist with Nutrien Ag Solutions. I'm going to start off with the satellite picture here early on Tuesday morning. Pretty quiet across the lower 48. The exception is along a frontal boundary stalled out across this region. We've got thunderstorms off the Gulf Coast. We've seen shower and storm activity off and on, across Florida over the last couple of days, and that's where we're going to keep much of our thunderstorm activity. We do have Delta, though, beginning to brew, intensifying to a Category 2 hurricane overnight. Is expected to continue to intensify. I'm going to go ahead and hit play on the satellite animation here. I'll do it even better. I got a zoomed in shot here for you. This is the latest look at Delta here just before 5 o'clock this morning. And the latest advisory, again, from the National Hurricane Center has that as a Category 2 hurricane early on this Tuesday morning. But again, expected to intensify to a major hurricane status by over the next 24 to 36 hours. And then currently expected to make landfall across the Gulf Coast, somewhere across far eastern Texas, likely across Louisiana, but still parts of southern Mississippi and Alabama in play as well as we get into the weekend, likely Friday night into Saturday morning. So we'll be talking much more about that as we head through our forecasts over the next 72 hours. Now, the radar picture, again, quiet across much of the southern region until you get over towards Florida and coastal portions of Georgia and South Carolina. The last 72 hours of precipitation, that is where the thunderstorm activity has been. Again, it's been very quiet across much of the lower 48, from the panhandles of Texas and Oklahoma eastward toward the coast. You have to all the way down to the peninsula of Florida to find any significant precipitation over the last 3 days. Now, as we look at the next week ahead, we're going to see warmer conditions returning to the midsection of the country. It's been a cool last 7 to 10 days. Even seeing some of that cooler weather make its way down into the south. We will be bringing ridging back into the central U.S. So again, seeing temperatures warm over the next week. And then as we look at the next week of precipitation, we're going to keep things quiet over the next few days. But Delta is that wild card that's going to bring some significant precipitation back into the southern U.S. up toward the Ohio River Valley as we head into the weekend. Now, the upper level pattern that is driving things right now continues to be a ridge in the west and then that trough across the Great Lakes. That's what's allowed the cooler temperatures to spill in here, keeping things cool and dry over the last 4 or 5 days, a little bit longer as you head back into the Corn Belt. As we head through the next 3 days or so, again, watching for ridging to begin to pivot off across the midsection of the country as we deepen this trough in the Gulf of Alaska and then start to kick this trough across the Hudson Bay and the Great Lakes, swinging that one off to the east across the North Atlantic. So this is where we start to build ridging back into the midsection of the country. Heading into the later part of the week, of course, Delta floating around in the Gulf is your wild card. As we head into the weekend and then early next week, here's what happens. We're going to take a look at the jet stream winds at 500 millibars. Starting off today, again, same pattern that we've dealt with over the last week. Ridge in the west, trough in the east. We've got a very strong wave rotating around the base of that Hudson Bay trough that's going to bring a slight downward adjustment in temperatures to the Great Lakes. Won't impact us here in the south. We'll just continue to warm, especially as we get into the later part of the week with the ridging moving in over the central part of the U.S. Here's Delta making its way across the Gulf and then making landfall as we get into Friday night and Saturday. And then we're going to start turning our attention to the west. This very strong wave making its way across the Pacific, blasting in across the Pacific Northwest as we get into Saturday and Sunday. This one digs in across the midsection of the country as we get into Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday of next week, doing a couple of things. First, kicking Delta out of here. That will help Delta not sit around and loiter for several days across the mid-Atlantic. That'll help kick Delta out of here. This is also going to bring our first real organized storm system to the midsection of the country, perhaps a pair of storm systems as we get into, again, that late Sunday into Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday time frame across the middle part of the country. This is a pattern that we have not seen for quite some time. Again, this big trough swinging in from the west and then tapping into the Gulf of Mexico. Now, is it actually going to last? Are we going to just go right back into this pattern here where if I take this to the end of the loop at day 10, what do you know? We've got a ridge in the west and a big trough in the east once again. So some unsettled weather and some changes here as we head into the weekend and next week. Now, what happens here, I've been showing this plot a lot, showing the precipitable water, our moisture depth, the moisture content within the atmosphere. Much of the deeper moisture being confined to the Gulf of Mexico, being blown off land by these big sweeping fronts that come in. Here's another one. Remember, I teased that one off to the north. You see it come in here, that push of dry air, just taking the moisture with it, confining it off to the south. Well, Right now, and as we head through the rest of the week, all the deep tropical moisture is south of that front. Florida tapping into that with its shower and thunderstorm activity, but that's just about it until Delta lifts northward as we head into Friday and Saturday. Now taking some of the deeper Gulf moisture northward into the Ohio River Valley. This is that pattern change that I'm talking about. This trough digging in across the southwest, tapping into southerly flow from the Gulf of Mexico instead of the opposite. What's the opposite? Ridge in the west, trough in the east. Now we're bringing dry air out of the north. We're bringing big sweeping cold fronts down to the Gulf of Mexico, keeping that deep moisture out of here. Well, now we're opening the door as we head into next week. That's the pattern change. So here's the precipitation forecast, just verbatim from the European operational model. Keeping things pretty quiet. Unless you live in Florida, you'll get your shower and thunderstorm activity each and every afternoon over the next few days. Eastern Texas, perhaps seeing a couple thunderstorms associated with some of the outer bands of Delta as we head into Thursday and Friday, and then much of the heavier moisture making its way inland here as we head into Friday night and Saturday along with Delta. But it's possible we could see some shower and storm activity lifting across the rest of the southern U.S. I'm talking about Mississippi, Alabama, the Florida-Georgia line here as we head into Friday. So a dry next couple of days, but then Delta and its moisture brings a wild card in there with scattered storms and then eventually, of course, soaking tropical rains as we head into the end of the week and the weekend. So here's your precipitation anomaly forecast. The next 5 days going to be dry until we get Delta in here. Again, late Thursday, probably more like Friday, and then the heaviest rain moving in Saturday and Sunday. And then we'll have to talk about the impacts from our storm system swinging in on the backside of Delta, kicking Delta out, but then potentially bringing some additional showers and storms to the region as we head into the middle and later part of next week. Good agreement here with the GFS. I've been showing the European model, but just to kind of reiterate here with a second model backing me up. Dry as we head through Wednesday. We'll keep it dry across most areas until we get to Thursday night. Again, agreement here with much of the heavier rain waiting until Friday and then likely Saturday as we head across the Gulf. But then the chance for just about everyone east of Texas into Louisiana and Arkansas to pick up some pretty significant precipitation as we start heading into next week. Now, where's the wild card going to be? Where could the dry exception be? That would be across the southwest. It's possible that Texas and Oklahoma, you get completely missed by not only Delta, but by the storm system that swings in on the backside as we get into early next week. So Oklahoma and Texas back into the southwest, likely seeing what's been extremely dry conditions continuing as we head into the rest of the week. And next week. So let's take a look at temperatures then as we head through the next 5 days. 80s and 90s back across the Panhandle and West Texas where it continues to be very dry. This will be the last of the cool anomalies across the southern U.S. as we bring 80s back in as we head into the end of the week. A little bit cooler as we get into Friday and Saturday with some more cloud cover and then eventually Delta's moisture making its way northward. We'll keep things cloudy, unsettled, rainy likely as we head through the weekend into early next week. Eric will be back with our long-range weather analysis on Wednesday and then the ag forecast on Thursday where I know he'll take a deeper dive into Delta and the increasing specifics that we can give with the forecast with Delta. And then I'll be back to talk to about the southern region on Friday. We'll be able to give the last 24 hours notice here with Delta making its way ashore.